That was perfect timing, actually.
It really was. It truly was, as it always is for us.
That's not true at all.
That's fair. That's
Don't
fair.
lie.
Especially considering this is actually the perfect segue of the fact that as we sit today, this is Sunday, February 1st, the 2026 Grammy Awards are going to be shown live tonight from the Staples Center. I will not call it the other thing. I do not give a fuck. It is the Staples Center. The Grammy Awards that us as a music podcast did not have anything planned for the biggest music show on earth. So we are going to rectify that. As you're listening to this, the next episode we released is going to be Grammy centric. We are going to have a recap, all of the big categories, all the surprises. There were several changes this year to the Grammys and some of the criteria, some other fun things that we can talk about. So we'll talk about all that next week. But for today, just to kind of see how good of prognosticators we are, I didn't want to get into anything that's actually important with the Grammys, because again, we'll cover that next week. But I did find a really, really bad Grammys bingo card that was for sale on Etsy. Most of the bingo squares were terrible. Like, it wasn't even where there was like, drink if someone cries during a speech. Like, okay, cool. But I did pick out a few of those that at least we can cover. We can see how good we are, because as the listeners listen to this, of course, the Grammys will have been done and dusted, and they can grade us to see how well we did. So without further ado, will there be a performance with a piano in tonight's Grammy Awards? I thought this was, at first, just looking at it, like that's kind of a softball question. But then I kind of looked at the list of the performers and the kind of general vibe, and I don't know. So what are your thoughts?
Having not looked at the lineup or anyone even knowing who's supposed to be there, I'm going to say yes, just because
Love it.
That it's the Grammy stage. It happens, and there's probably going to be an in memoriam at some point. So yes.
Yes, always during an in memoriam, but I do feel like that, yes, there will be a piano performance tonight. I agree.
Yeah, I'm going back and forth. I won't go through the full list of performers because there are a bunch, but like ones that might be there, you might get like a Lady Gaga, depending on how pop or how piano her performance goes. There is going to be a tribute from Lauryn Hill to Roberta Flack and D'Angelo that we might get one in, which is kind of also a pseudo in memoriam segment. And also a Best New Artist medley with all of the Best New Artists performing together. I don't foresee a piano and all that, but it is going to be interesting to see how they all kind of coexist in one sort of space with one another.
I'm going to take the long shot on this one and say that piano performance is going to happen during Tyler, the Creator's performance.
I don't hate it.
No.
If that's coming off at 5-1 or longer, like I'm probably putting an hour on it.
Let's go.
Seriously. All right. What about a mention of AI in the music industry? Is anyone going to dip a toe into that particular topic?
If they do, it'll be during the Songwriters Award. I can't remember which one goes to the songwriter. I'm terrible at this. But
record, I think.
Is it record of the year or song of the year?
It might be song. It's one of the two. I don't know.
One of those two.
We should know this. Alas.
We have to remind ourselves every time we do this. Every year. If they do it, but I'm going to say no. I'm going to say they're going to avoid that topic tonight.
Okay. Dan, what do you got?
No. Yes, I'm sure it's going to come up, because why not?
Yeah, I feel like it is maybe not as hot button in music as it was this time last year. In fact, we had a podcast episode. You might think that this whole thing was just a lead in for a cheap plug for a previous podcast episode. And you would be right. That was when Dan and I talked about the usage of AI in music back in July of 24. I thought it was last year. It apparently was a couple years ago that we discussed this very topic. So while not as pressing right now, and there are certainly far more pressing topics in the music world and in the world in general that will and probably should be highlighted and discussed during the Grammy Awards. But yeah, I think I'm going to go with no for this one, that we are going to see AI take a backseat. That conversation's far from done. But I think for tonight, we are going to see it take a backseat. And then finally, one that is a little bit more lighthearted than the previous two. Is anyone going to make a 6-7 joke on the stage? And for bonus point too.
Yes. Post Malone.
Love it. Love it. I'm writing it down. That's a lock.
Burn It With Fire.
I think they're up for Best New Artist, Burn It With Fire. Yeah, I'm 100% with Jay. I can't, no matter what my choice was before Post Malone, like that, if there's anyone who just would get up on stage, do this number with the hands, and then just leave, like he wasn't even nominated for an award. What is he up here? He's not a presenter. Why is he here?
This is not the time nor the place, but God, let me just point something out, and that this was never, nor should have ever have been cool, because this has been something we have been doing literally since, I don't know, the early 2000s, because that's just taking the big balls dance and bringing it up a foot. Like, this is not new. It's not edgy. I'm just an old man bitching about the youth culture, I'm sure. But I at least will say this. The big balls dance was at least funnier.
Fair. We could go into why I don't have a problem with it as an even older man. But that's a different show. That's not this one.
I'm writing on our schedule. We have our Grammys recap next week. Week after that, Vibes 6-7 in modern music. We will put a pin in this for the next couple of weeks. But for right now, we are going to talk about January reviews right now on the Fairly KickAss podcast. And here we are.
And we've lost Dan to a spot on the ceiling.
I'm still trying to figure out if I have heard any 6-7s in modern music, actually. I'm sure it's out there.
The original meme has a song.
Well, yes. But we were trying to, like, we cover things that get released, like, to the public on purpose, right? And like, that's what we're trying to figure out. Is it made that jump? I don't know that it will, because that's the second that anyone of our age is talking about it and works it into a reference is the second this thing has died, which is kind of why I'm surprised it's still going.
That's exactly. It's still around. But here's the thing. You know who needs to, like, talk about it and put it in a song in order to immortalize it in this time frame and no further? Black Eyed Peas. They are the kings of dating themselves by using trends in slang and terminology.
That'd be so 2000 and late.
Exactly.
So what did the month of January sound like to you guys?
Go ahead.
No, I think we were going to say the same thing. Like, it's January. It's like, just like December and really November to, I guess, a little bit of a lesser extent. January feels like, we've gone out of the Christmas and holiday music vibe. And, most people are not releasing albums in January for that exact reason. They don't want to get swept up in, like, the tail end of the holidays. So, just looking at sheer volume, like, February just looks to be a lot more, just a larger amount of stuff. And, at least on paper, a larger amount of really good stuff, of the stuff that I'm looking forward to. January, fair to Midland with the limited releases that we were working with, but nothing that has really blown 2026 out of the water quite yet.
And I would second that mostly, where, January is fair to Midland. It was a good month. I had, not the quantity that I generally listen to, but the quality was fair. Like, it was good.
Nice.
But I will say that I have a track record of what I've listened to most by the end of the year, either dropped end of January or beginning of February. And I don't think that's going to change. I think I have another one that is just as it's going to stick around.
Interesting. I am excited to hear, because I did have some that I had kind of penciled in as like, maybe it's this one, maybe it's this one, like ones I felt would maybe really hit your wavelength a little bit better than others. So yeah, we'll see how that shakes out, how wrong I am, because I'm always wrong about this.
And actually, one of the things that I'm going to talk about here may wind up having some crossover with Dan. I don't know if it has already. It could have, but it may wind up having some crossover with Dan. So I'm curious to see what he thinks about it. Dan, what did you think about everything else that you listened to?
Well, it's interesting because I get almost the opposite effect on the chart when it comes to this, because it's almost like the tide coming back in. Like Christmas music pushes everything out of its wake as it comes blowing in and hitting the coast, and then finally moves out to sea, and the tide comes back in and brings back all the real music with it. So like a whole bunch of stuff that was just kind of been pushed towards the bottom of the Hot 100 and just stuck there for a month because of Mariah is finally getting a chance to rise up. A couple of albums released and hits on streaming. I'm sure. Zack might have spoiled this a little bit for me, so I know we'll be talking about that some. And it was actually a pretty good month. Like, I didn't really outright ragey hate anything I heard. I even heard a song from an artist I cannot stand and went, no, yeah, that wasn't bad at all. That's pretty good. All right. And that's the first time I had ever listened to Meghan Trainor and went, oh, yeah, okay. Not bad at all.
Starting the year off well, then. I see.
So yeah, I can't complain. I also know that this will not last, because it never does. There will always be a valley to go with the peaks here. But for now, I will enjoy a decent, not decent might undersell it, but a pretty decent month of music on the charts.
Nice.
Hell yeah, dude.
I'm excited to hear about it.
Well, then I will go ahead and dip a toe in for my number 3 album, my very first album to discuss in this year of 2026. And it's already breaking a long established rule that I have for myself for these dealios. Well, 2 rules, which one is no EPs and 2 is no mixtapes, because the concept of each of those is, in a lot of cases, just does not, for me, embody like the concept of an album. This is one of those rare exceptions, not to the EP level, but absolutely to the mixtape level. This is considered a mixtape by the artist himself. And I don't know if I think that's a fair representation, because I feel like this is a full-fledged, well put together, and dare I say thematic album release altogether. And that is rapper originally known as JIDK, now dropping the J, only going by IDK, with his latest ETDS. The acronym, by the way, stands for Even the Devil Smiles. And as you can expect from a title like that, the devil is a large motif throughout the album. IDK talks about his dealings with this devil. He talks about his experience as someone who was in the prison system when he was younger, reflects on those times now that he is older, now that he is out of prison, and I believe has been out of prison for quite some time, maybe around a decade, but reflecting on those times in a very real way, a very raw way, a very interesting way from a perspective of someone who is, at least from what I can tell from the music, who seems removed from the lifestyle that, got him to that place in prison in the first place. despite all that, the music still has to sound good, and this absolutely does in spades. I misspoke a little bit earlier when I said that this is not at all like a mixtape. There is one way that it is, and that is the fact that there are a good amount of producers on this album, including producers like Conductor Williams, producers like K Tronada, like No ID. So producers of substance, and they absolutely lend that substance to this album. But even so, it doesn't sound like, umpty number of Despair tracks. I think it's like 11 or 12. It doesn't sound like that number of Despair tracks. It sounds well put together. A few featured artists as well, including the late DMX and MF Doom that both feature on this album. So all the way around, one that I was not familiar with at all, but one that I very much enjoyed every minute of listening to.
Right on. Yeah, didn't listen to that one. For some reason, that one didn't show up on my radar.
Yeah, that happens with us. Like, I know we have a few different ways of determining like our new music, new albums, and I think sometimes things just end up in your ballpark and not mine, or vice versa.
Yeah, I also think that's going to happen with this when we flip and it's my turn to talk. But no, that's one I would have listened to had it shown up on my radar, and because I was looking for some hip hop, and Wiz Khalifa didn't cut it for me this month. But
goddamn, he did not. You are not wrong about that, my friend.
Right. So I was looking for some hip hop to listen to, and I didn't see it for whatever reason. But I'm glad you did, and I've written it down now, so I will be listening. Nice. Although I do tend to generally speaking, I avoid mixtapes too, because I don't know, that's not my vibe. But I'll listen to it. You loved it. I'm gonna listen to it.
Yeah, if I knew it was a mixtape, I probably would not have listened to it for that reason. But I'm glad I didn't realize that until after the fact.
Fair enough.
But yeah. What about you, man? Where you mentioned your number 3 may not have ended up in my ballpark.
Yeah, I guess I wouldn't be surprised, but it's sort of niche. So we're living in a moment where extremity is basically currency, like louder, faster, heavier, art being pushed to its extreme limits to prove that it still has teeth. And in heavy music, especially, that escalation can be a trap, where brutality replaces intention and shock value stands in for vision. See that a lot in like popular loud rock. Basically, look at the lineup of Incarceration or Sonic Temple, and you'll see a lot of that. But Endless, by the band of Sulfur, OV Sulfur, sidesteps that pitfall by understanding that it's not about force, it's about control. This album doesn't pummel, it curates intensity. It shapes chaos into something deliberate and unsettlingly coherent. Musically, it's a study in precision brutality. They fuse deathcore's sheer physical weight with blackened atmospheres and industrial adjacent textures. It creates a sound that's both vast and somehow claustrophobic, very tight spaces. Guitars are serrated and suffocating. They're everywhere. Drums lock into punishing but meticulously arranged patterns, and the production gives everything this cold, airless clarity. Ricky Hoover is the vocalist, and he's basically the gravitational center of the record. He's commanding, theatrical, and deeply expressive. He moves effortlessly between guttural force and eerie operatic nuance. Rather than existing to purely overwhelm, his performances feel intentional and surgical with precision. Lyrically and thematically, Endless fixates on cycles, obsession, domination, spiritual erosion, and the terrifying comfort of inevitability. There's a sense that the album isn't racing toward a conclusion so much as it's like circling the same void from different angles. Each pass reveals a new texture, new pressure point, and that recursive structure gives the record its real weight, and that its heaviness as endurance rather than explosion.
So you are correct in that I'm not familiar with this band or this album. However, I know that the band members, including Ricky Hoover, that the band's representation, management, what have you, They certainly are listening to this podcast. And considering what a glowing and eloquent workup you just gave them, if they're not ringing your phone off the hook for you to do PR for them in the future, then they are missing out big time. Because that was some of your finest work.
Well, thank you.
And don't think you got that Suffocate reference by me either, you sly dog. I know exactly what you were going for there. That was nice. That was nice.
Yeah,
I respect it.
You're welcome.
Was that one that you wrote like, this is just for me?
Yeah, pretty much.
Nice.
I'll say, like, my favorite stuff on this record is, okay, so the first track is Endless. It's called Endless Godless. And there's only 2 words in the entire song. And he starts with the word godless and ends with the word endless. Like, that's, but vocally and like what he does with those 2 words is absolute insanity. It's so good.
That's so tough to pull that off and not make it seem like a gimmick. Like, that is extremely, like, no jokes at all. Like, that's just extremely impressive.
Yeah. He's good. Actually, reminds me a lot of some of the earlier Lorna Shore stuff, where
okay.
like you're showing off what a human voice can do. Like, what are you capable of doing with a human voice? It's inhuman. It really is.
It is album as science project.
Yes.
And I was drawn, because that is on my longer list that I'm consulting. I say longer list, it's Wikipedia. Let's not make it seem like it's anything glamorous. And it was the spelling of that, kind of scratched my head a little bit and thought, I don't know, there might be something here. But then I got into Wiz Khalifa instead, and I made a mistake.
You sure did.
A mistake I should have known was coming, but here we are.
Sure.
But yeah, definitely penciling that in to go back.
It's worth it. What else is worth it?
Man, my number 2 album is absolutely worth it, despite the fact that it is not an album of this time, which most of the time is not a selling point. I'll get to an example where it's absolutely not a selling point in my honorable mentions. But in this case, much like the mixtape exception from the IDK record, this is absolutely another exception for me, where an album that feels like it belongs in a different era, a different decade, just hits so well, even in 2026. Specifically, a smooth R&B album that harkens back to the halcyon era of the mid to late 1990s was absolutely something that I could fuck with this month. And that came courtesy of one Ari Lennox with her latest album, Vacancy. First and foremost, on this album, Ari's 3rd studio album, by the way, her vocals are not just butter, but they're the butter that you leave out, like the stick that you leave out on the counter for just the right amount of time so that it still holds its shape. But whenever you spread it on anything or put it on anything, it just immediately disappears into like this perfect, delicious puddle. And that puddle especially gets extenuated based on some lovely instrumentation that puts Ari front and center on each individual track. It's exactly what you want out of an R&B album in terms of production. You want to not think about the production. You want to know that it's there. You want to know that it sounds good. You want to know that it's clean. And then you want it to go away because you want to listen to the vocals that are coming through. And this production is absolutely aces in that respect. But don't let the super clean production and the beautiful voice fool you, because Ari Lennox is not fucking around on this album. Let me give you a quick example. For instance, on the song Wake Up, she croons to a lover who is very clearly stepped out and who is being accused of such, with receipts aplenty, I might add. Ari croons, "Loved you, how stupid, how foolish. You got me back on my bullshit. Tell me it's in my head? Oh, Draco in my hand. You better wake up. Wake up." Yeah, it's big, like Hole Up by Beyonce energy, and I will not be crossing either one of these women anytime soon. I'll instead listen to some more great music from Ari, such as the sultry 24 Seconds or the almost doo-wop beat of Under the Moon. All of it hits really, really well. Ari comes in with the lyrical force in all of these tracks, and there is a bit of a juxtaposition with the vocals, but it just works in this case. It's a super cool album, and yeah, it absolutely was well deserving of being where it was, somewhat of an anomaly in 2026.
So I did listen to that record, and I quite enjoyed it. For me, it wound up fading into the background. Her voice is beautiful. That, whatever you want to call it, like neo soul, whatever, old school vibes, and quite cheeky. But I really found myself not paying attention to the lyrics, which I think is probably why it didn't make my top 3, because it sounds like lyrically is where she was packing a punch on that one.
Yeah.
Because musically, for me, there weren't any wow moments.
Right.
It was good. Like, it was very good, very solid all the way through, but I didn't wake up during the whole thing, I guess. I don't know. Genuinely love her voice, though.
Yeah, I think that like I said, that juxtaposition is kind of where it's like that aha moment for me. Like, oh God, it's almost like lyrically reminiscent of, like, think like a Megan Thee Stallion, like that kind of lyrical ferocity, that kind of like, I will punch you in the face or worse if you cross me kind of vibe that absolutely came through. It just didn't sound like it fit the vocals, but again, in a good way, not in a weird way. Like it worked somehow.
Yeah, I really like that kind of stuff. Like when there's a juxtaposition between the lyrics and the style. That's one of my favorite things in music. So the fact that I didn't clock it is a smack in the head to me, right? Like I should have caught it, and I didn't. And I'm glad you pointed it out.
It's tough. I mean, like that's one area where I have to really focus, is like listening to an album and really vibing with it. And then like getting up here and talking about it, like in our, in monthly reviews past, I noticed this for me, like, what was it about? What was the album even about? I don't know that I could tell you 2 words about the lyrics. So yeah, it's definitely an ever present challenge for me too.
Yeah. And made more upsetting to me because of what I'm about to talk about for my number 2 record.
A perfect segue, man.
Yeah. Okay. So you'll notice that I have sort of a pattern to the way I wrote these, because I needed a form. So we're deep in an era of hypervisibility, right? Where pop stars are expected to be both confessional diarists and flawlessly constructed avatars. Intimacy in music is not rare. It is no longer rare. It is mandatory, and often it's exhausting. And against that backdrop, Locket reads as a quiet recalibration. Madison Beer is trying to create an inward shrinking emotional frame, not so much this all-out algorithm, she's not trying to out-reveal the algorithm. She's not trying to dramatize vulnerability or spectacle. It's just thought and internal feelings. And because of those small moments, the album has some weight to it for me. It's not a broadcast. It's private. Sonically, Madison leans into a lot of restraint as an aesthetic choice. The production favors a lot of soft focus R&B, gauzy pop, and minimalist electronic textures that leave a lot of negative space. She's kind of pulling in influence from a lot of her contemporaries like Olivia Rodrigo and Sabrina Carpenter. I would even say Taylor Swift is in there a little bit. Her vocals are always technically pristine, and she's very delicate and subtle here. Breathy, intimate, deliberately understated. Feels like she's resisting the urge to oversell a feeling she knows is going to land anyway. The effect is immersive rather than immediate, and it's inviting. It wants repeat listens. Lyrically, and here's where I got to kick myself because I did listen to the lyrics on this record, there's almost nothing here. It's very pleasant. Themes of guarded affection, emotional self-preservation, and the tension between wanting closeness and fearing exposure. There's a constant sense of containment, desire held just behind the ribs, sadness folded neatly rather than spilled. It's emotional discipline on this record. It was refreshing to me because of the musical landscape that exists where we often mistake loudness for honesty.
Yep.
And she stands out because she chose smaller, steadier, more durable methods of expressing that. But lyrically, there's nothing here that is a standout words. Or very little anyway. There's a couple of really fantastic tracks, which I neglected to write the titles down, so I don't know them off the top of my head. Nothing at All is a wonderful song. And For the Night, those were my two favorite lyrically tracks on the record, which actually makes them probably my favorite overall tracks on the album. But she kind of flows between those really soft, intimate, and then some like banger dance pop that is just great. But her voice is still subtle, even in those heavier, like dancier songs.
It's another album that I saw on my Wikipedia list. I don't know why I passed this up though, because I am at least, marginally familiar with Madison Beer, at least marginally familiar with her music. I don't know if I just kind of wrote it off out of hand in my head when I saw it. I don't know if it was just like, it didn't really, move the needle on paper. So, maybe if I need something else, I'll come back to it, like that kind of vibe. I don't know if I just felt that it was just going to be like another pop album, so to speak, and that there really wasn't going to be anything that differentiated it from, the other pop albums, which is extremely reductive. And I understand that. But at the same time, like there's a lot of music to listen to as well. So, I tend to try to gravitate towards things that at least seem like they'll be a little more unique. I don't want to say interesting because that doesn't feel good either, but a little more unique in that landscape. But yeah, this was one that I absolutely missed on all accounts. So shame on me.
Well, it's funny to me because like the two of you really enjoyed the Olivia Rodrigo record that I didn't love as much because I thought it felt a little samey. And for me, like this was the same sort of expression, but without the sameness to it, to the record. It was enough varied that for me, like this was a killer record.
Very nice. Yeah. If there's one genre that I really have gravitated more towards since the start of doing this podcast for years ago, it's probably pop. So deathcore close behind it, but pop absolutely. So yeah, I'm stoked to go back knowing that gets your stamp of approval.
Word. Well, what got your stamp of approval but wasn't good enough to make the final cut?
Oh, so many things. I won't go into all of them just in the interest of time, but I will touch on a couple of things. One, Britpop from Robbie Williams. I'm as surprised about this as anyone else is. Did not expect to see Tony Iommi from Sabbath front and center on this album, playing on the first track, Rocket, but here we are. It was solid. It was fun. It was pop, perhaps a little unexpected, just like we were talking about with Madison Beer. This was unexpected in its variability, but this was a very varied album, and I was here for it. Also, RTO with Soul Rot. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. It was just heavy, just full, just big sound, electronica, metal mashup. It was listed in a few different places as new metal, and I guess in my head I had an idea what new metal was, but maybe that terminology has shifted throughout the years because this did not sound like what I would have clocked as new metal. But again, maybe it's like how emo means, multiple different things based on eras. It could be that deal. But super raw vocals, hits very hard. Great album. I'll tell you what wasn't a great album was Megadeth by Megadeth. It was a Megadeth album. It Megadethed all over the damn place. The only thing that I asked for less than their cover of Ride the Lightning was the other 10 tracks on the album. It's their last album. It's their big send off, whatever, but it's just so mid. It's just like, I almost would have rather them not have put this out and just let their previous body of work speak for itself. Yeah, it left. Apparently, like Dave Mustaine, who lives here in the Nashville area, apparently like the band had put out a dealio where they charged like $1,000 to essentially do a studio tour in their studio in the Nashville area, like a 1 day, like behind the scenes historical Megadeth thing. Apologies if anyone listening actually wasted your money on that, because I can't imagine that was worth $10, much less $1,000.
I'd have done it for $10.
Okay, I'll give you that. That's maybe unfair to Mr. Mustaine. I'm so sorry. $10, I would pay $10. That's like a McDonald's combo meal. I'll pay that for the tour. Not 20 though. And one more for you, Jay, since you were looking for some more hip hop this month. Rock Marciano with 656. Unremarkable, but still very solid rap album. So if you needed something to fill those coffers a little more, that's another option for you.
Cool. Yeah, I'll get on that.
What about you? What barely missed your cut?
Well, let's keep it going with the loud rock for a minute. Elende had an album called Zerfall. I don't know where they're from. I did not do any research into them. I enjoyed the album. It's black metal. My favorite review of it, actually, I looked up. Somebody wrote, "This is black metal, but not just any black metal. They play pretty black metal. You know the type, the kind that you put on when you want to listen to Dark Throne, but also want to impress the saucy anarchist philosophy graduate that you've been lying to about liking slam poetry." That's what this record is. That's perfect.
I want to talk to that person.
I know. I also really enjoyed the Proto Men and Act 3, The City Made Us. It's so fun. It's very soundtrack. It's very 1980s. It was a blast. Is it great? Meh, maybe not, but it's fun. I also really enjoyed the new Poppy record, Empty Hands. I love Poppy. I think she's got a wonderful voice. I will say that the first track on this record is the only thing that kept it off my top 3. I hate the first track on this record. It's awful. And I actually, I put on the album, listened to about half of the first track, and I was like, nope, can't do it. And then I steeled myself and went back to it later. And I'm very glad I did, because the rest of the album is very good. But I can't with that first track. It's real bad.
Oof.
And then I also wrote down They Might Be Giants and their new EP, Eyeball, because it's They Might Be Giants. And, you got to listen to stuff. And it's fun. It's quirky. It's everything you would expect from a They Might Be Giants record.
Very nice, dude. I will mention that I also had Act 3, The City Made Us from the Proto Men on my honorable mentions. I specifically did not talk about it because I wasn't sure if that was your number one album, and I didn't want to steal your thunder. But yeah, I absolutely vibe to that a great deal.
Yeah, it's fun.
Yeah.
It's not my favorite thing that happened in January 2026, but it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, absolutely. I won't get into it since this might come up at a different time, spoiler alert, but just the tie-ins with the video game world, were really, really cool for me as a huge fan of just, especially old school video games this was based on, which is Mega Man.
Yeah.
So
very
perhaps
cool.
More to come on that topic in the near future. But in the current future, I've got a number one album to talk about.
Did you just paradox on me? In the current future?
I think I did. I'll have the lottery numbers for you after the show. I don't want the listeners to hear.
Fair enough.
I'm going to talk about my number one album. It's going to sound really weird the way that I discuss the numbering, the ranking of this album, but I promise this will make sense. I just need y'all to come on this journey the way that I came on this journey myself. So without further ado, this album, my number 3 album of the month, I told you it's going to sound weird, wasn't initially my number 3 album. Instead, I had it as an honorable mention at first with this note that I wrote to myself, which is, quote, "I feel like I'll love it more the more times I listen to it." Which a logical person would read that back to themselves, or maybe even before they wrote it, and think, hey, asshole, maybe you should just listen to it more before you make a determination on it if that's how you already feel, so you can see really where you slot in with this album. And for once, I actually listened to that voice inside my head. And not only was I right, did I love it more the more times I listened to it, but it even rose a rung up on my ladder. So my once honorable mention, my new number 2 album, is the second full-length album from amazing folk artist Monrovia called Bloodline. For all those GeoGuessr fans in the audience, or those just way more versed in geography than I am, the bar is low. I get that. Monrovia is the capital of the country Liberia, where Mon was born and lived until age 7. That experience paints a large portion of the album Bloodline, weaving in and out with his experiences here in the United States, which, as you can imagine, have presented their own sense of trauma. And it was at this exact point in my writing, with the title track playing in my headphones, that I knew that this had just topped that beautiful Ari Lennox album Vacancy that I talked about. Thus, the weird numbering as it climbed the ranks in real time from honorable mention to 3 to 2 to being my number 1 album of the month. Tracks such as Running Boy, Somewhere Down in Georgia, and Day at the Soccer Fields are just powerful lyrically, all with the very understated delivery that absolutely lets the lyrics speak for themselves. Mon has a gorgeous way with words, one of those very, very rare artists that not only puts you into a place, but into a state of mind to go along with it as you listen. The feels will come out if there are feels to come out, and I feel like there are plenty to go around in this album. And if you're like me, even if you do love this album, you may still also feel like you'll love it even more than that the more times you listen to it. And you should do that. You should listen to it more, as should I, which I will many, many times over.
Well, as you could hear, I had put the phone up to my ear so that I could listen to a little bit of it, because that's another one that was a complete miss for me. Well, we're batting 0 for 5 so far.
I know this is rare for us. Like, we're never in complete lockstep, but there's usually like one that's like, oh yeah, I really dug that. Like,
I mean, I listened to your number 2 record, but whatever. It doesn't matter. The point is, no, completely missed this one. And I will be fixing that as well, probably later today.
I think you'll really appreciate it. I think you'll really enjoy it. But I don't even have to think. I know that you really enjoyed your number 1 album of the month.
Yeah, and it's going to bat 0 for 6, because I would be very surprised if this one crossed your path as well. Pass? Good Lord, words are happening. Okay, so getting back to my format here. We live in an era of emotional whiplash. With a thumb and a screen, we ricochet from delight to dread to irony in just a few seconds, and the art of the moment has followed suit. The multiverse is not just a cinematic gimmick, it's a cultural tell. Pop music steeped in darker palettes, producers chasing stranger textures, sincerity and cynicism collapsing into the same frame. You could map recent cultural history as an escalation in feeling. Modernist earnestness giving way to postmodern doubt, now arriving at something messier and more plural, where multiple emotional truths coexist without explanation. That kind of tonal elasticity is where Slather on the Honey thrives. Clothesline from Hell is the solo project from Toronto multi-instrumentalist Adam Laframboise. He handles these mood swings with an ease that feels instinctive rather than showy. The album is welcoming and uneasy, relaxed but nervy, emotionally forthright but carefully withheld. Even the name feels like a misdirect, borrowed from let's call it a punishing wrestling move. It gives no clue to the album's quiet psychological complexity. Laframboise has a soft back-of-the-throat vocal, and it drifts through intricate drum machine patterns and delicately picked acoustic guitars, kind of hovering somewhere between folk intimacy and math rock precision. But the sum never sounds like a checklist of influences. It feels like a new object entirely, familiar in shape, but full of odd, surprising textures. He bounces around quite a bit. Across the 8 tracks, the record slips fluidly between psych rock shimmer, emo candor, and trip hop murk. Play Me Annie pairs elegant looping guitar figures with vocals that lodge immediately in your head. Like immediately, like an unknown mortal orchestra track rendered in higher resolution. Drug of Choice carries a darker, slinkier confidence, industrial undertones nodding toward Nine Inch Nails without ever lapsing into pastiche. Even when the album wanders stylistically, Laframboise' musical fingerprints remain unmistakable. He anchors everything, every detour to the same mercurial tone. Where Slather on the Honey really sharpens its edge is these maximalist turns that it has. So On Ice is the clearest distillation of his imagination. It's the second track on the record. Jagged blasts of distortion cut through hypnotic rhythms and allows the song to pivot abruptly from calm to like just edgy. Whoever You Are pulls a similar trick. Layers abrasive textures over gentle foundations topped with a bright, ambiguous melody that feels glazed on it, sweet and slightly artificial. These rapid collisions of mood are the album's defining strength. That Laframboise manages them while still operating in the loose orbit of indie pop is pretty impressive. And it's emblematic of a cultural moment, increasingly comfortable with music that is emotionally complex, intuitively structured, and uninterested in choosing just one feeling at a time. Sorry, I talk too much.
No. It wasn't that. It was like everything you said. I'm sure you're correct. Once again, we were 0 for 6 or like 0.5 for 6. But just hearing everything you said about this album and knowing that like you're not blowing smoke, like this is everything you say is absolutely correct. I have no doubt about that. But then just comparing that to the backdrop of a wrestling move being executed by a character that essentially is a Texas oil magnate from like the early 1900s, complete with the Cadillac with the steer horns on the front, is just a really weird sort of juxtaposition of imagery compared to everything you just said.
Yeah. And it works.
Yeah.
It's a good image to take with this record. I have no, honestly, okay, so this record dropped, I think, the second week of January, and I think I've listened to it, I don't know, a dozen or more times, which is a lot for me to repeat listen to a record during a month. It's really good. And the fact that it's his debut, it's exciting.
Nice. Yeah, I was going to ask about that because I think you had mentioned it was a solo act, but I didn't know if this was someone who had worked with a previous artist, like with a band or with, another group before.
Not to my knowledge.
That's awesome.
I didn't do a ton of research on his backstory, but knowing that it's Clothesline from Hell, it's their debut. And from what I could see, it's also his first record, but I did not do any backstory on that.
Right on. Well, we each have homework to do, which makes it fun. I love that there was kind of like a general overarching, like almost a sub theme of all of your albums this month. And I'm certain that wasn't like planned, that was totally organic, but it is cool that it all lined up that way.
I mean, it wasn't accidental, if that's what you're getting at.
Oh,
I wrote the first one, which was the Clothesline from Hell one, and I started with that. We live in an era of emotional whiplash, and then I was like, okay, well, I'm going to do that for all three of them.
Even as a bit though, like the album still worked within the confines of that. Like you weren't finding albums that like, how can I fit this into my bit?
No, I definitely did it the other way around. I did the album first and then wrote the thing. Yeah.
Awesome, dude. Yeah. So I think we are off and running through 2026 on the album side. And we're going to go to, as we always do, over to the charting single side. Dan, I guess I know we talked a little bit about it earlier in the show. I feel like there was a lot of volume, maybe more so than on the album side. I don't know if we had touched on that, but I'm curious to hear what you thought was good. I think you mentioned at least one, if not a couple of albums that had a few songs chart. So yeah, by all means.
Yeah, listen, there was a lot more than we've been used to, especially as I kind of look back at this stuff. We had like November where I had to talk about literally every single song because I just had enough to do a top three, a bottom three, and a mention on either side. So quite the opposite here. There's plenty to talk about. In fact, there's so much that I can give you an honorable mention, which is Bruno Mars' first single off his new forthcoming record, and I just might. And it's, you know what? It's a fine song. It's a tune that does all the Bruno Mars things while carrying a heavier influence of the Silk Sonic sound. I like it. It's good. It feels like it's missing just this little thing that keeps it from like raising into the upper tier of Mars's work. But that being said, as an honorable mention, there's like plenty of stuff that I would say it's worth your time to at least give a listen to. And the one that I was going to mention, because I know you guys talked about the record initially back in July, maybe. I want to say that's when Don't Tap the Glass came out, June, July.
That sounds right, yeah.
Yeah, Tyler, the Creator's Sugar Under My Tongue charted like 6 months after it was put out as the second single off that album. So if you hadn't gone and listened to that CD yet, go do that now with that.
Yeah. Tyler at some of his like creative zenith, I feel like, as an artist.
Yes.
Throughout that entire album, including Sugar on My Tongue, yeah.
And if you want a song in the middle of a playlist where Zach Bryan had 4 songs off a record and A$AP Rocky had 3 songs hit off a record and Bruno Mars is there and there's like 4 other generic country guys and then here comes Tyler, the Creator. Let me tell you how much of speaking of musical whiplash, of the best possible way, though.
Yeah, he will break up any playlist you got, no matter the genre.
Yes,
in a good
beautiful
way.
Thing. It's a beautiful thing. But I could also suggest Pink Pantheress and Zara Larson's Stateside, and I could also suggest another one from Cat's Eye, Internet Girl, which is far more what you would think of as a K-pop song, but still even memeier than the meme song. And then a song I didn't expect I was going to like as much as I did, but Lil Uzi Vert and what you were saying. It is worth. Yeah, I know. I saw that look
right.
Snap up there. It's worth a listen. Let me tell you.
Okay. All right.
So I kind of had 5 honorable mentions, along with and. Can I completely confess something right here, and I'll break the fourth wall. I have no problem with this. In fact, I'll work the entire story up because it burns more time for me. So we're putting this together on a Sunday afternoon, which is not our normal time for putting these things together. We normally do things Monday nights now, but scheduling conflicts are what they were, so we moved it to Sunday so we get this in this week. A point that I was reminded of at 1 o'clock this morning when Zach sent a text out and was like, "We still good for tomorrow afternoon?" And half asleep, I went, "Oh shit, I haven't listened to a single thing yet. I was going to do that tomorrow afternoon." So I may have gotten up early to listen to these things, and I may have still been writing the entire time they were speaking, which is why I had nothing to contribute, even more so than normal.
Sounds right.
So I have to ask, did y'all talk about the Zach Bryan record?
No.
Not a lick. Not a lick.
Okay, good.
Which I wish I could say was out of some, like if I had thought about it then and knowing that it charted so much, I absolutely would not have, but that was just like a happy accident. Like I don't
You're
think
okay.
I don't think it ended up on either of our lists.
I just wanted to make sure. Because there was the day, God, I'm just telling that story of like, God, Ted would kick my ass for Employee of the Month.
Gets his picture in the break room again.
Honestly, the bit about that surprises me most is how do you manage to go this entire month without listening to the radio?
Oh, real easy. So technically I still sort of work in radio, so I have a real easy way to avoid it. I don't listen to the radio, and I go out of my way to not listen to songs that I know, like Bruno Mars's single dropped like 3 weeks ago. I think 2 or 3 weeks ago. And I heard people at work tell me, "Yeah, here's this song. It's pretty good." And I'm like, "Yeah, I don't not listening to it till the end of the month. I do all my listening at the same time just so I can be in the same mood when I listen to every single track." So I managed to put that one off, even though that was been huge. Same thing with Zach Bryan. I knew it was an album coming out, but I also figured it was going to get something was going to chart based on streams alone. So I held off on listening to the whole thing until I'll do it now this week because there's a lot there. Which just works into my number 3 song. And I honestly, like I said, I've read quite a bit about With Heaven on Top. You know, people have opinions, including that it's just too long and lengthy. Country records don't have the greatest of reputations here in Morgan Wallen. But in Zach Bryan's case, he seems to have put together 25 tracks of interesting poetic work that doesn't sound like 76 minutes of the same song, Morgan Wallen. The standout, though, of the 4 tracks that hit the top 40 is my number 3 song this month, Appetite. And it rose to the top because of everything that it adds to Bryan's signature sound and composition. There are rock elements in there. There are some more blues elements in there. There are horns. It feels like the same effect sort of when, and this is probably way overgeneralizing, but when Chris Stapleton like widened out his sound musically and pushed out his production, it feels like the same thing. The songwriting in no way takes a back seat, and because it's an existential crisis of a tune that tries to resolve major questions in life with maturity and sweet harmonies. It is enigmatic, I would assume, of a bigger record that makes a bunch of big moves while once again doing all the things that have made Brian such a unique voice in the musical landscape.
Yeah, I know you mentioned Chris Stapleton, but another name that came to mind when listening to Appetite was Jason Isbell. And that this is very similar to Jason Isbell, but a bigger sound, like you said, more rock elements, something a little less understated. I dig it. I think this is a killer track. I think this is a track that country music sorely needs. I know that Zach Bryan is kind of floats around like country / folk / Americana and what have you, but this is more country than I think some of his previous releases have been, and I think country music is better for it.
Not to say anything negative about the other 3 songs, Say Why, Plastic Cigarette, and Bad News, that were in the top half, just didn't make the top 3 there, but yeah, no, like I said, looking forward to hearing the rest of that as well.
Nice.
Good.
And to cut you off, yes, but with what is going to make it my number 2 song. And I think I've been on a bit of run of being blown away by vocal tracks last month. November's top song came in from Olivia Dean and her glistening vocals on So Easy to Fall in Love. And at number 2, we have another breakthrough track from a young vocalist that fuels her single with a wall of sound. It's Sienna Spiro and Die on This Hill, built around just simple piano lines that are augmented throughout with more orchestration, just kind of building. It's a very classic song structure. Kind of reminds me of either like a couple of songs from Adele's debut record or maybe a Bond theme. It just goes from like simple lines and structure to this big grand crescendo, only to fall back to just pianos and vocals to bring the message home in the final seconds. Spiro has said the song's about the concept of stubborn love and committing yourself to a less than tenable position, and her voice drips with all of the painful confidence that comes with said position. It's somehow heartbreaking to hear the tale of the struggle to let go and move on, while also, and at the same time, slightly inspiring to hear the determination to keep a fire burning. There is no way this is as moving if handled by a different voice, different emoting, a different avenue. It is the perfect pairing of songwriting, production, and performance.
Cool.
Yeah, you can feel the song more than you can hear the song.
That's a really good way to put it, actually. Yeah. So let me take you down to the bottom, because there's always the bottom, and it's a farther fall this time.
Good.
And let's go and start. Well, farther falling as much as there were more tree branches to fall through to get to the roots. To really weird metaphor. Anyway, the dishonorable mention goes to someone you had mentioned, Jay, a little bit ago, and it goes to Tate McRae's Nobody's Girl. And McRae is weird for me because she swings wildly between singles that are just pop perfection and then singles that miss the mark so badly she's like trying to kick an extra point and instead nails the cotton candy guy in section 108.
That's still pretty impressive.
Nobody's Girl is in section 108. Yeah, if it wasn't for the fact that section 108 is in the visitor's side, yeah.
It was good, but it can be impressive on the negative side too.
What else you got on the lower end of the scale?
Well, tell you what, let me get this out of the way real quick, because it almost feels like I'm trying to make room for a song that doesn't belong here. And in a way, I sort of am. Coming in at number 25. Okay, Jackson Wang's Made Me a Man. It sounds very pretty. It is light and airy mostly. There are harmonies throughout. The melody's nice. And yet, for some reason, in the complete opposite of the songs at the top of the list, all of the emotions that are supposed to be in here just feel plastic and empty. And instead of enveloping, and because of the song that it is, it severely takes away from the whole thing. Like, it should be the kind of track that really does draw my ear in, and it just not as much there. I know that's about becoming a completely different person after meeting that certain someone, which is a philosophical issue on my end, and I get that, and I'm trying not to let that be a thing in the back of my head. But there's something about the song that still doesn't set right with me. So, I mean, your mileage may vary wildly on the placement of this one. There is also one technical thing that takes me right out of the whole thing, and that's that the chorus is mixed way louder than the rest of the song, to the point where Wang is drowned out by his own hook and just blends into the instrumentation. And I couldn't get past it. I tried multiple sets of headphones to make sure it wasn't just me. So if this was actually a choice in the studio, it was so the wrong one.
Well, and you're sure it has to be a choice, right? Because it's so easy to make those choices in the studio right now that it had to be a conscious decision.
That's the thing. And it's like, it's the middle of the hook. So it's not like you can say, oh, we just missed it in the mastering. Like, well, then you fire your engineer.
Yeah.
Because that's awful.
Yeah, it was, that cotton candy vendor in section 108 that got hit with the ball in the previous track, like that cotton candy essentially became Made Me a Man.
Yes.
Because this track is pure cotton candy. It tastes fun on the way down, but then you realize there was never any substance there.
It just gave you diabetes.
Diabetes.
Oh yeah, you're right. Sorry, bad pronunciation.
That joke definitely doesn't work for two reasons: is that one, it's visual, and two, the act of covering one's mouth to make the Wilford Brimley mustache kind of lose the effect of the diabetes voice.
With you as a man who has a full mustache already.
It's definitely not as big and bushy though as
true.
Well, no.
So anyway.
Yeah, Brimley's stash is definitely.
God, is this the hallmark of someone way unprepared or not? Let's just keep going, please. We can get done with this and I'll go home. A real fast way to get yourself on the bottom of my lists are to be so forgettable that I can't pick your song out of a lineup. And in a month that featured a number of samey country tracks, Hudson Westbrook's House Again falls in here at number 26. And that is the cardinal sin of Mr. Two Street Names here. It's country music on easy mode. Nothing more, nothing less, all the way through. It does turn to the traditional side of country, and the song tries to tackle the heavy subject. But the fact that both are done generically enough to not find an edge in either hugely blunts what could otherwise be a sledgehammer of a song. It's about the dissolution of a relationship, using the house involved as the metaphor for said doomed relationship. But the word that comes to mind here again is just bland. The writing is bland, with a metaphors by number chorus being pushed as the hook, but again falls short of being interesting enough to be memorable, which again is the worst thing you could do, especially in a month where everyone else got the memo, already interesting writing.
Now, all three of us and listeners included, like, we've all heard songs that we feel are boring, that we feel a level of boredom as we listen to it. But I don't know, up until listening to House Again, that I've ever heard a song where the artist himself sounds bored as he's singing it.
Right?
Like, he's the kid who's like watching the clock at like 2:58 p.m., waiting for it to strike 3 so he can get the hell out of here and not have to think about school for the rest of the weekend. But he, for some reason, has a guitar and a top 40 hit.
Yeah, serious. It's continuing that house metaphor. It's like the most boring, like, tour of the house after the whole thing. Like, yeah, here's the kitchen. We laughed over there once and made lunch over there.
Made lunch.
We watched a movie in the living room here once. That's there's a couch there. Bathrooms around the corner.
Was that movie Paul Blart?
No, because that's too much personality for this year's song.
Oh gosh. Join us for a Little House on the Prairie viewing time after the showing. Jesus. Yeah. This track it saps life out of, I mean, not that the lyrics are great, but like there's at least a little bit there, and it's just completely evaporated by the
yeah
delivery.
And to be fair, I mean, this is coming from a 20-year-old songwriter, and I forget whose review of it, it said that I would say Westbrook is named Westbrook. I got his fucking name. That tells you how memorable the song is. Westbrook is still getting his legs underneath him as a songwriter. I'm like, yes, that's a very nice way to put it.
Yeah. Yeah. There are several legs that still need to be placed underneath before
he's not even crawling yet at this point. If this is what the top of the output is.
Yeah. Oof. Well, it can't get any worse than this, can it?
He says leadingly.
Yeah, I was just saying. Do you have that lead written down on the card for me? Because every time it's basically how this whole thing goes.
Yeah.
Good.
Got my little 3x5 right in front of me.
Yeah, but here's the part. I'm going to confess, not just lack of preparedness, but I went down a hole of the road. So number 27, the last song, Shabuzi featuring Jelly Roll and Amen. And like I said, I got to admit that I had a whole other thing written, and it was more so on Jelly Roll about basically putting out the same song over and over again. And now he's bringing the story he's been telling for 7 records or whatever it is to a Shabuzi track. But it really started to feel like I was almost kicking somebody who's down based on the story he tells all the time. And some of the greatest songs ever written tell a similar story. So it was far from fair, it seemed. But I can criticize Amen for being a clean version of a bar song. Just instead of begging for a drink, they're begging for a god to hear them. It is very much the same as almost every other Jelly Roll track, done through the lens of literally someone else's hit. Like the hook is basically plagiarized from a bar song. The only reason Shabuzi isn't suing Shabuzi for this is because he made them both. So double cardinal sin there. So it goes all the way to the bottom of an otherwise pretty good month.
Yeah.
Come on, I'm an asshole, but I have a line somewhere, believe it or not.
Yeah. I don't know. Like that track for me had a special kind of like horrible to it. It's sort of, it's melodrama, but like a really self-important melodrama. And like, I don't know, it feels heavy-handed, joyless, and just it feels. You remember? Okay, so when I was reading the thing about when I was talking about Madison Beer and like being like loud being mistaken for honesty, like that's what this feels like too.
That's actually a pretty good comparison, I would say. And like as I kept going back, that's a good comparison of like Jelly Roll's singles discography. Like I understand he had an experience and changed things after being in a bad place. And like I said, you can write about that a lot. He just doesn't seem to write a different song about it ever. Everything is Save Me.
Yeah.
I guess I am going to go to everything is Save Me. Everything is Son of a Sinner. Everything is this. Like he's going full contemporary Christian. Like that is where this is headed, and that is it. Like that is how this is going to go. And very soon he will be not bothering the pop charts for very much longer because it'll be focused on the other side. Which, if that's your bag, go for it. Like I'm not here to criticize you for that at all.
But write another song.
Maybe write another song. Maybe write another different song. You can tell me the same story a different way.
Yeah, it was kind of like the realization that like I do like this song, or at least I thought originally that I liked this song, but then just like you two were saying, I realized I like the formula of this song. I like the composition by which this song was made and meticulously crafted in a lab and then spit out for all of us to listen to. Like the song is the same.
Yeah, it's tipsy, just a little slower, cleaner, a little heavier. So if you had fun with the song, just go back and listen to a bar song because it's more fun.
Mm-hmm. Agreed. Speaking of
more fun. Yeah, the number one's more fun. Well, yes, actually, no, but better, far better.
Yeah.
I may have already spoiled another track that is set apart by its vocals. That's what's coming. And now, multiple-time winner of Top Song of the Month as well. Last month, it was For So Easy to Fall in Love. And in January, Olivia Dean is Top of the Pops again with a couple minutes. So you take classic Motown soul, and then you lay that on top of a story song of running into an ex and the flood of emotions that comes with that. And you get another powerful and emotional track that, in a different way than Die on This Hill, punches the listener right in the feels and drags you through that roller coaster of emotions that comes with, I said, seeing that exit. You are not over for the first time in a while. And to avoid burning too much time on points that I've already made this and last month, Dean proves that she can do all those things with her voice, swapping out the velvety smooth grooves of a bossa nova from So Easy to the devastating emotion of a soul ballad that is a pure throwback to the early 60s, while carrying all of the zeitgeist of a modern love and breakup story.
There was one lyric that jumped out at me in this track, and it's so far the most beautiful lyric that I've read or that I've heard this year, which is "Love's never wasted when it's shared." And I feel like that just ties the song together. So, like, you know, this relationship didn't work out, quote unquote, but maybe saying this didn't work out is not the best way to put it. Maybe this relationship worked out exactly like it was supposed to. And maybe seeing you for that couple minutes, you know, down the line is less of like a gut punch. I mean, it is a gut punch, certainly, but also a confirmation of like, this is how this was supposed to happen. And we both benefited from it, and we both grew from it, and we both became better people because of it. Like, that's a really cool song.
You being able to take the best of a bad situation out of these things.
It's not easy sometimes, for sure, but
not at all.
Yeah,
I prefer not to. I prefer that the wallowing in anger and despair point of all these things. But that's, again, just me.
There is joy in that as well.
Yeah, sure. There's something about the catharsis.
I mean, that exact feeling has led to plenty of great songs in and of itself. So
I believe that knowing that we've come to the end of yet another episode of the Fairly KickAss podcast is also a catharsis for the listeners as well.
True as that might be. Like, I don't have an argument for that. Like, you're absolutely right. Listeners let out a collective sigh of relief.
And there's no good way out of this. You can tell us how much you hate that you celebrate the pain of having to listen to this show by hitting us up on our socials. On Blue Sky, on Instagram, on Threads, on TikTok, at Fairly KickAss, and of course, at fairlykickass@gmail.com. If you really want to get that verbose about it, I have no problem being sworn at through email. I appreciate it. That's about it.
Ditto.
I've been stalling here trying to think of something fun to say at the end. I've literally got nothing except for I'm sorry that you have to deal with us for another calendar year, but buckle up. It's not going to get better.
The old strap in fuckface, we're doing music.
We're doing music
all year.